Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Kate Forbes must think our heads zip up the back. She has come out with claims that are clearly preposterous. At best, you could say are ill-advised or mistaken. At worst, they're just outright lies. She's saying, and this is astonishing, that even though they've abandoned plans within this current parliament to provide full free school dinners to all children in Scotland because they cannot afford them, they've said they haven't broken their manifesto promise of ensuring all children get free school meals. What? Number one, she's saying, she says, it's not broken. The promise isn't broken. We just haven't done it yet. We're still planning on doing it. We've still made that announcement. We're going and intend to do it. Oh, well, I'm sure that's fine then. I'm sure all those hungry children can eat your worthless promises. That'll fill them up, won't it? When you say you're going to do something and then don't do something, that's a broken promise, Kate. Now, you said you were going to do it back in 2021. Where is it? It surely can't be that hard to feed some children. You know, it's not a difficult thing, especially when you're spending billions abroad on foreign policy of which you have no capability. You know, you don't have foreign policy. It's not within your gift. Yet if you can spend millions upon millions abroad, surely you can throw down a meat and two veg, a small portion at that, in front of some children. Weird, isn't it? And then she makes another astonishing claim that they've lifted the 100,000 children out of poverty. This is a claim they've made for a long time now. And there's no evidence of it. It's just, hey, let's just pluck a number from the air that sounds good. 100,000 children, that sounds good. Let's use that. Can you back it up? No. Why not? Because I've literally just invented that number. Now, so Robert Choate, who is head of the UK Statistics Agency, I believe, he said that at best, and if you are very generous in the definition of poverty, you could make a claim, maybe, that almost 50,000 people may have been, or children, may have been lifted out of poverty. He says, but the real figure is probably very much less, or fewer, I suppose, than that. Certainly nowhere even close to approaching the 100,000 that they have continually claimed. It just cannot be. He said it's actually virtually impossible to have done this. He said, and yet this claim that they make persists. And then she's gone on and she's ragged on again about, oh, look, after Tory austerity, now we're going for Labour austerity. We know that we're not going to get the funding from Labour because all the new thing now is, oh, Labour are going to cut our funding. What they're not saying is that the last funding from the Tory government was the biggest we'd ever had. So now, even though it's not going to be quite as big, it's a cut, Labour cuts. Yeah, Labour will probably pay you the same as you've had for the last, 4 out of the last 5 years. But all of a sudden it's a massive cut. Just because the Tory party actually managed to give a big one because of the way the Barnett formula works. And they had a big spend programme, and so you get that proportionality. But now it's Labour austerity. And we all know full well it isn't. It's SNP austerity. It's 17 years of misrule, 17 years of waste, 17 years of pumping money into things that don't matter and choking the supply of money to things that do. Education, the roads, transport, social care, but most of all, the NHS. And of course, this is going to continue. And as I've said before, people will die because of SNP cuts, not Labour cuts. You are not able to blame the Labour Party for this. It's been 14 years of Tory rule, but now everything's Labour's fault because they're the big bad wolf down in Westminster. And so, yes, Kate Forbes sits there and says, oh, but look, it can't be us. And she gets the little book, the SNP book of excuses, Labour, Tory, Brexit, Westminster, aliens. Never SNP, never Shona Robinson's stupidity, never the evil of Nicola Sturgeon, never the stupidity of Hamza Yousaf, never the lack of talent of Well, any of them, all of them, none of them. And now she's got John Swinney, and she's trying to kiss up to the arse of John Swinney because he's brought her in, made her deputy leader. He's just the caretaker, and she knows full well that she'll never be leader. I think she must be very bitter. She tried it once, and she got so very close. But the old guard, they grabbed around and they put Humza Yousaf in on the second vote because they were scared of Kate Forbes. And the thing is, they're still scared of them, which is why they're changing the rules, which is why they're trying to make sure that Flynn will be the next leader. He knows it, John Swinney knows it, and of course Kate Forbes knows it. They all know it, and that of course is why these things are really getting to her. And I think it matters a lot to her that these things happen. And so she sits there and she's casting around for things to blame, showing that she's a good little party girl, hoiking out all the old broken and, these stats that have been provably false, but which for some reason she thinks make everything better. If you hear them, you know who Hitler said, if you repeat the lie often enough, people eventually believe it. And I think that's what they're doing. They continually push this 100,000 children, for example. Nowhere close. You'd almost think that there's an election coming up. You'd almost think there's a possibility that John Swinney will be gone soon. Possibly by Christmas. Who knows? It certainly seems to be the motion towards getting Flynn in. And at that point, of course, Forbes will be most definitely out. The Forbes camp and the Flynn camp are diametrically opposite. He's been spinning and lying. She's been spinning and lying. And it's whose spinners and liars are the best. But it's one of those things, isn't it? It doesn't matter who wins. If Flynn wins or Forbes wins, it doesn't matter. Because whoever wins, Scotland, loses. Now it's just a case of how do they lose? With Flynn, it will be more of the same. It will be independence first, last, everywhere. We've got to do this, we've got to do that. Forbes, more pragmatic. She says put independence on the back bench, on the back burner, and concentrate doing the job. But unfortunately, them doing the job with the current lot they've got still isn't good enough, and the waste will continue, and the money will run out, and Scotland will just sink into the mire slightly slower. What do you want? Quick death or a long, slow, drawn-out drowning in poverty? You decide, Scotland. It's your call. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.